Hi, my name is Max Stewart. I am the industry principal at Pereview, where I work on business development and marketing efforts while using my real estate asset management experience. Previously, I worked on the real estate side at JLL, Bentall Green Oak, and Bridge Investment Group. I worked primarily on the asset management side, and I really began to feel the pains of fragmented data that Pereview solves for.
Hi, everybody. My name is Danny Courtney. I'm a senior consultant on the Pereview onboarding team, supporting new clients as they start their journey onto Pereview. My background is in accounting, process engineering, and software implementation.
So today we're going to be talking about how to get the most out of your real estate financial model data and really the inherent challenges that exist in Excel from a data management standpoint.
Well, it starts with time value of money. $100 today is not the same as $100 in 5 years, and we all hope that the annual growth meets your investors' expectations. So it's simple. Build a cash flow schedule into an Excel spreadsheet, throw an XIRR function in there, present your findings, and close the deal. Well, we all know that it's more complex than that. When you add in other dimensions, the calculations suddenly become much more complicated. Even the off-the-shelf modeling solutions struggle with the fundamentals, and so we all revert to the old trusty Excel workbook.
Perhaps your company has a model in some shared drive that is maybe difficult to find, or the model is in a locked file you don't have the password to, and your colleague is in Florida on spring break for the week. Or maybe the acquisitions team only has access and the asset management team is looking to make changes. So team members cannot even get to the model sometimes. With that, there's also timeliness and accuracy issues. I mean, the model itself is routinely updated. Maybe no one really knows who's making those updates, or it's not been updated enough, and therefore it's not accurate. There's doubts on the data legitimacy within the potential different calculations and or assumptions across the varying departments and individuals. And with that is really a huge issue. The model itself lives on an island. So even if various team members do have access and the model is routinely updated, it is likely not tied to any other system within the organization. So in essence, it lives on an island. So if a team member makes an update in the file, it is only reflected in that file and nowhere else within the organization. With that too, there's varying chart of accounts. So the data is often incompatible because your analyst is likely going into Excel to calculate NOI using, call it 20 categories for cash flows, whereas your actual accounting team and data may have 100 plus line items. So this creates a bottleneck of administrative efforts in trying to tie the various chart of accounts when reporting. That ties directly to the next issue is the manual efforts to tie model and actuals and budget. So lots of times during the daunting budget process, which I know is coming up, your team will likely want to assess your actual performance versus underwriting within the model. This becomes a huge pain. I dealt with it firsthand. It's a manual effort with the ever-present threat of fat fingering a value, an extra zero, and that can materially change your reports. So teams need to be able to accurately do their routine and ad hoc reporting. And the final challenge that always comes up is just lack of internal understanding of the complex model. So many times teams do not even understand the basic functionality of their models and where each of the formulas are tied. So I can also speak to this firsthand. If your team potentially loses an all-star analyst or that person leaves on a whim and no one really understands how to use the model, that's not a great situation to be in as a company. So how do these challenges ultimately affect real estate owners? For one, it's the inaccuracies in the data. So this is by far the biggest issue and really fear within organizations, that the data within the model is inaccurate. There's no checks and balances in place. It's none of the information in Excel is tethered to any greater database. Perhaps the model is in version 15. It's a copy of a file. And there are a lot of items that have been hard coded, and there are potential keystroke errors, the infamous pound ref errors littered within the file. With that, there is ultimately the inability to report accurately. So again, knowing firsthand from my analyst days that when key data points are not tying to what is supposedly in the Excel model expectations, team members cannot effectively do their job. So this really leads to a mad scramble, trying to tie out pieces of data across various systems of record for these fire drill tasks that come up. And this is a huge value and data point that we talk about here at Pereview, but the time spent on administrative efforts. So It's a huge issue. Pulling this data just takes a lot of time. And as portfolios grow, there's more manpower often needed to help oversee that manual process. So we've seen historically in real estate is that as AUM grows, teams will essentially just add more analysts, really throwing more team members at the problem without really solving for the underlying issues at play. And the bulk of time by these analysts in their week is spent kind of spinning their wheels on administrative efforts, trying to tie these Excel data points without actually adding value to the day-to-day portfolio. And ultimately, with all of it, there's growing frustration across the senior team, investors, as asset managers start to rely on gut feeling on whether the asset is performing rather than mathematical precision. So these frustrations can oftentimes boil over into investment committee, quarterly asset management meetings. Definitely know what that's like.
Thanks for watching the first part of our webinar series on optimizing real estate financial model data. Don't miss part 2, where we'll show how Pereview solves for these challenges. Scan the QR code to learn more.